Top 5 realignment rumors or sayings or things to be wary of. Because we're in the crazy times right now. And anything with a Pac-12 has more weight than anything anywhere else. But I just want you to, when you look at things and don't fall down a rabbit hole. This is more public service. I care about people, Smokey. I don't want them, deep at night, like figuring out how Clemson and Oregon can somehow get to the Big Ten by way of the Big 12. I don't just don't hurt your head.
So what was the tweet? Ross Dellinger's tweet. Believe nothing. Well, I'll find it, but it's similar to what you're saying because it could drive you crazy. How long did it drive you crazy with just one team leaving a year later in Colorado?
Exactly. So number 5, that anything is for sure. So if you hear this is for sure, nothing is for sure until the board, the group of distinguished people that have different walks in life, until the board votes on it, like we saw in Colorado, that's the only time it's for sure.
Right.
Now, you can start to believe things are for sure when they've been reported for 24, 48 hours or so before these meetings, and said university hasn't come out and gone, no, whoa. So those are also good indicators, but sometimes that doesn't even mean things are for sure. They're just trying to get through the storm.
Yeah.
So don't, when you say for sure this is done, those are the key indicators, as opposed to a lot of people going, absolutely, UConn's going to be in the Big 12 come Thursday next week. It's not for sure. It certainly could happen, but there's a lot of things that could happen in between there, and it's less likely to happen than other scenarios.
How do you know when your spaghetti noodles are done?
Yeah, they stick to the wall.
You throw them up against the wall, a refrigerator, or the oven, and it sticks. It like Super Spider-Man. Be careful of those who throw a lot of those noodles against the wall that don't stick.
By the way, for the wedding, got a La Crusette, like one of those cast iron Dutch oven, big Dutch ovens.
Oh, really?
Made some meatballs in them.
One of those is 2 burners?
It's no, it's 1 burner. Big, best meatballs I've ever made in that thing.
Damn.
Yeah, flavor.
You've made some good ones.
Yeah. Number 4, that there's a Pac-12 media deal ready. I know what we heard today, and I still don't think this one is totally true. I don't think this is, and this deal is in case of emergency break class. That doesn't really mean that it's really ready for the rest of the conference.
Right.
But it's something. So when you hear that, until we hear it tomorrow, because, and look, Jason Scheer, a lot of people have reported that they're going to see numbers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a deal either, because this could just be kind of the first offer sheet or whatever, like parameters, because they haven't even seen that in the Pac-12.
Right.
They have no idea what the parameters even being discussed are. So that there's a deal ready, I don't even believe that even after tomorrow completely.
Man, I agree with you.
But
he just has to strip down naked in what's there.
Yeah,
not George. God
No,
knows, but yeah. Although maybe which is the ugliest thing to look at.
Yeah. Number 3, that X school is just ready to jump. That at any moment they're just going to jump. That they can do it. Now this is easy for the Pac-12 because they can. Colorado did it. Arizona could do it. Oregon and Washington could do it. All these schools could just do it right now if they have an offer somewhere else to go. They can just jump. But when you talk about the ACC, the Big 12, like any other conference, even look, San Diego State, you would think that would be a pretty easy thing for them to call up and be like, hey, we're making a bunch of money. And then their conference is like, don't care.
Yep.
Here's how much you owe us. This is the contract you signed. They're like, yeah, but could you give us 30 more days? They're like, why would we do that? Because we're friends. Nah, we're not that good of friends.
The $20 million, if that's the number, which I think Brian Etheridge and some of those on the board have mentioned that from the beginning, that doesn't include what they owe Comcast.
Yeah. So that's going to get, and that's going to be litigated out for probably a couple of years.
But let's say that's $2.5 million a year, or is it 5 over 3 or 1, or is it 5 overall? I don't know.
Yeah. Number 2, that conferences are ready to go to 20 teams. I don't think that there is an appetite for this right now, which might be the Pac saving grace in that they can maybe add some teams with however many they have to add. So say they had to add 4 because they lost 4 this cycle. So they're at 8, and they add San Diego State, SMU, UNLV, and Boise State. I'm just throwing those out because those to me would be the most likely and ready to go. And and sign on the dotted line if they could. So say they add those 4 teams and they could be at 12 teams for 6-7 years until the next deal's up. I do not think that in this cycle that conferences are totally ready to commit to 20 teams in a league, and it has nothing necessarily to do with football, although it does really wreck your cool scheduling model that you've built,
right,
and pushes that out a little bit further. I don't think they're ready because they have to figure out how to navigate these cross-country trips, especially the Big Ten, with the Olympic sports, and that is
what Softy mentioned.
Yeah, that is that's a travel agent's nightmare. Where you're like, hey, I need to get to Piscataway, New Jersey on Tuesday. I need to be back in Madison, Wisconsin on Thursday, and then back in Los Angeles on Sunday. Like, that is a lot.
You know who should get more money with all this expansion and realignment? The people who put together the schedules.
Oh, dear, yes. The advanced, like
they're not getting paid enough.
The advanced teams that, like, for women's basketball, they have to go to a place and make sure that the hotels have enough Gatorade and all these different things. Yes, because they're going to have.
And the people in each program that are in charge of that for, like, the women's basketball program.
Exactly. Do those
the reconnaissance, so to speak.
Yeah. They're going to be getting calls like, the boy is 5 years old now. He said it. Like, oh, I missed his birth. Like, it's going to be crazy. Their schedule is going to get rocked with what they've been used to. Number one, that any ACC teams could leave at any time. They can't. It's going to be difficult. Now, I do believe that Florida State will be at the forefront of making noise about the money from now until the money either gets better when the new deal is signed 13 years from now, or from now until they find a time to go to a place that will give them more money. But that is not immediate, because if they could have, they would.
Yep.
They could just say, like, Florida State, Florida State and Clemson could be out right now and say, hey, make us the best offer. I also don't think that the SEC is just ripe to grab FSU and Clemson. Like, they would do it, but I don't think that there's sentiment in that conference to bring in schools that have won it to make it even more difficult.
If they do that, the one way we might actually see the SEC play non-conference games. They'd have to, right?
Here's the deal. Do you know who I would think would be against this more than, like, say, their rivals in the conference? Like Alabama, honestly, Alabama could add anybody. Georgia, they're not going to care. They're like, come to our place and we'll put you in the wood chipper, and if you make it out, good for you. But I would be, if I'm Vanderbilt and I'm doubling down on my athletic department for the first time in a generation, and then all of a sudden Clemson's coming in, I'm like, well, crap, man.
Because you get knocked down another peg, even if you're trying not to be that peg. And then what about Florida?
Well, let's see. In Florida, here's the thing.
What about South Carolina?
Here's the thing that's interesting about Florida to me is I think that they would fight this just because of the natural rivalry that's been between these two schools forever. But they're also they're just now getting back in their, like, facility cycle.
Yep.
So you don't want to add two schools that are ahead of you in that cycle right now, where you're trying to build back up to where you are the Gators that everybody knew again. So, yeah, I mean, I would think that it would not be just that easy for them to leave. And I also don't think the Big Ten is knocking on the door either.
If Florida was to win that battle, A&M would be on the phone with Sankey going, what the hell, man?
I know.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, there we go. So much still unknown, even though there was evidence uncovered last week with